It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Even when I'm broadcasting from someplace that's not home, like I'm in Dallas this week as we're babysitting my 2-year-old niece as the second niece is being brought into the world, I still have my regular routine. I get up in the morning, I start flipping through all the YouTubes. That's right. I do a George Gascon every morning.
Do a Google on YouTube.
The first thing I do is I go through all of my subscribed channels, which are, for the most part, local news channels all throughout the state of California. So you've got your NBC4, your KCAL 9, your KTLA 5, of course, your Fox 11. You've got I also have all of the stations in the Bay Area, your KRON 4, KPIX, KGO, NBC Bay Area, KTVU, Fox 2. And we also cover what's going on in Sacramento. KCRA 3 is a great resource there. CBS Sacramento, ABC 10. Sometimes we cover San Diego at CBS 8 or Fox 5. I've got a station for almost every part of the state, even the Central Valley. I look at KSEE and I look at Fox 26, and sometimes you get some real gold going in the Central Valley. And today was one of those days where it didn't matter if I was looking in Northern California, Southern California, or the Bay Area. Every single part of the state is dealing with the same issue. Every single part of the state had a news story about something that has been plaguing California. I don't know if it's specifically, but I have not heard of this outside of California. And that, of course, is the rampant, brazen theft of copper wire. Copper wire theft seems to be getting worse and worse and worse, and there doesn't seem to be any solution to it outside of paying through the nose to replace the copper wire just so it can get stolen again. Earlier this year, in the city of Vallejo, they had to close a school, have all the kids work remotely or go to another school for a whole week because someone stole all the copper wire and the school could not operate in darkness. Took a week. And you got to imagine the raw metals that are in copper, the copper itself from the wiring, the demand for that is going through the roof. Not just because of electric cars, but because there's so much copper wire theft that municipalities are stuck having to foot the bill. And what's so funny about this specific crime is the amount of money you get on the street for stealing yards and yards worth of copper wire is not much. I mean, you could be hauling 100 pounds of copper wire and maybe get $50, $60. It's a whole other discussion exactly where you're getting that money, who's paying you for that money. There are multiple aspects of this story, but whatever it costs, whatever the payout is for the thief, because it's not like you steal all that copper and you keep it for yourself. It's not like you ship it to China. You're taking it to a recycler and they're paying you for it. And I would imagine several recyclers in Southern California, Northern California, and the Bay Area, they know it's stolen and they do not care because they might also be the same shops that are selling those raw materials back to the cities, back to the counties. They're winning both ways. We're seeing this all over the place, and the cities have to pay through the nose to fix their copper wire problems, to fix the lighting. For instance, in Los Angeles, the 6th Street Bridge, which we spent so much money on building and turning into attraction, had its copper wire ripped out twice last year. And you got to remember, when the lighting goes, so does any sense of safety. When the lighting goes, then the street takeovers come. Then you have more robberies. When you have neighborhoods that are dark, it is a signal to the criminals, commit crime here because it's even less visible. So it seems like a doom loop death spiral when this problem seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. And it's not helped by the fact that you have certain members of elected office like, I don't know, LA City Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez that scoff at the idea that we should go after the people who are perpetrating these crimes.
Let's criminalize catalytic converters. Let's criminalize copper.
It's one of my all-time favorite LA City Council meetings. It was about a year and a half ago when Hugo Soto Martinez was debating a motion put forth by Tracy Park and Kevin De Leon to get a task force to figure out how to stop all the copper wire theft. And Hugo doesn't understand why you want to go after these poor, unfortunate souls who are just stealing the copper wire to feed their families. And it was Imelda Padilla, of all people, that stood up to Hugo.
The neighborhood kids, the down-ass kids don't like it.
She said, these aren't homeless people. No, this is organized crime. These people know what they're doing. This is not something you could just easily do. It is highly dangerous to steal this stuff, but it's happening all over the place, and we rarely ever see any of this stolen merchandise recovered, and we don't see any arrests throughout the entire state of California. So what do I have for you today? I have 3 separate stories, all from the last 24 hours, all related to the rampant theft of copper wire in the state of California. Let's start with Fox 11 for a completely brazen, in the middle of the day theft of a block's worth of copper wire that was only stopped by an innocent bystander filming them and saying, "Knock it off, jackass." For more, here's Fox 11. Don't do that, bleep.
Copper thieves are getting more brazen, but in Huntington Park, some neighbors fought back, and it was all caught on camera.
Fox 11's Christy Fajardo live where it happened. Christy.
And these people were working for a very long time. The neighbors did something about it. Where's the police?
Alex and Marla, you can see the aftermath here behind me. There's still AT&T crews working to repair the damage, but the thieves did not make away with any copper because some neighbors stepped in, including one who tells us he came to this country as an undocumented immigrant 20 years ago. He says he pays his taxes and always tries to do what's right. It's an attempted theft in Huntington Park so conspicuous it got neighbors' attention. A man is up in telephone lines with bolt cutters within a car.
Wait, is the man with bolt cutters the one blasting Kay Buena so nobody pays attention to what he's doing?
A man is up in telephone lines with bolt cutters with an accomplice on the ground at Marbrisa.
We're not even doing this in the middle of the night anymore. We're doing it in the middle of the day.
With an accomplice on the ground at Marbrisa and Saturn on Sunday. Then watch 2 neighbors confront the men.
Just leave it. We're not going to come back. You're not coming back. Get out. I know we're not coming back. Leave it.
Preventing them from taking wiring that was a couple of blocks in length.
A couple of blocks of wire. They're just dragging it across intersection after intersection after intersection. This is a crime where you don't think you will ever be caught, and you don't care if you're caught. Obviously, the consequences for this crime are nothing when you're doing it this brazenly, dragging that much copper wire around this neighborhood until somebody finally chases you off.
You can hear one of the Good Samaritans tell them in Spanish to get a job as he helps run them off.
I like that. Also, again, I will have to point this out over and over again. The payday for this theft is not much. Just like the payday for stealing the bronze plaques at the cemeteries and all of this insane metal theft. It's not a lot. So why are we allowing it? And if there's nothing we can do about it, if there's no way to stop this crime, I guess we're going to have to rethink the way we do infrastructure in this city. Because the copper wire cannot stay where it's supposed to be. It's going to get stolen. It's going to get melted down. And it's going to get sold back to the city. And the city is so broke that the backlog to fix the copper wire is insane. There was a story, I want to say, it was one of David Goldstein's last reports on KCAL last year. And it was about the fact that there's been so much rampant copper wire theft in Caltrans on the freeways, including the 405, including the 101, that the lights that are supposed to be on freeway signs so you can see where you're going at night, 40% of them in the entire county haven't worked in years. I don't know how we stop this.
I see the people, what they're doing.
I mean, I have a good idea of how we stop this, but for some reason, nobody in elected office wants to talk about the aftermarket of this. As much as when we talk about organized retail theft, we talk about, we got to go after the fencers and we got to go after the people selling on eBay and selling on Mission and on the Mission and Market in San Francisco. You have to sell this stuff somewhere. You're not loading it in a van and taking it across the border. You're not loading it onto a plane and taking it to Vietnam. You are selling this stuff locally. So how are we not raiding every single crooked recycler out there? These companies are not all on the up and up just because they claim to be environmentalists. Do I need to point to the city of Oakland, to the Dong family, California Waste Solutions, a recycling company that has their tentacles into every aspect of Oakland politics? These are, some of them, definite criminal organizations. So at what point do we do something about that? Because it's not like you can just melt down copper in your basement and nobody knows about it. You need a whole facility for this.
I see the people, what they're doing, and it wasn't right.
This is that Good Samaritan who asked we not identify him. He says he was outraged by what he saw, telling us he works hard for his money and doesn't understand why the men in the video wouldn't do the same.
You can pick up cans or plastic. You can recycle.
Yeah, but recycling, like cans, that's what, 5 cents a can? 5 cents a bottle? Maybe it's a big bottle, 10 cents? You can get like $50 for a mile's worth of copper wire. Bigger payday.
Do something you can do. People can do better.
He says because they confronted them, the would-be thieves ended up leaving without the wires, but knocked out AT&T services to the area.
If you ever wonder why your Wi-Fi seems to be going out all the time, it might not be bad weather, because I don't know about you, I'm AT&T, and I get those kind of notifications all the time. There might be a service outage in your area, but it's not like it's raining. It's not like it's windy. It's not like there was an earthquake. No, they stole all the They stole all the copper. There's no way to power the tower. No. Hey, that rhymed.
There was no internet, tells us Maria in Spanish, who only learned from us what caused the outage.
Well, how else would she know? She had no internet.
Crews working to restore services tell us criminals are after the copper inside and say thefts are no longer rare. But being this...
These things are happening constantly.
And
we're never seeing arrests.
And say thefts are no longer rare. But being this brazen is. And neighbors are thankful the Good Samaritans were just as bold.
I feel inside that I had to do something about it to protect my family, the community.
AT&T is so frustrated by the thefts that they are actually offering a reward of up to $5,000 for the arrest and conviction of copper thieves. And
yeah, good luck with that.
We talked to several neighbors who believe that suspects yesterday should have and could have been arrested. They say they called Huntington Park police, that officers came out, and that they even pointed out where the suspects were. But as far as they know, they were not taken into custody.
What's that about? There could be a few different reasons, because this is supposed to be a new day in LA County, and Nathan Hochman is promised to prosecute criminals and repeat thieves. But are we protecting the copper wire thieves because some of them are in the country illegally? It's definitely possible. We have seen, and this isn't even anecdotal, but we have seen retail tourism gangs come into this country specifically to do the thieving. And some of those gangs have been copper wire related. Some of them go steal all the jewelry inside a home in Encino. Some of them steal all the copper.
We did reach out several times today to the police department, but have yet to hear back. Live in Huntington Park, Chrissy Fajardo, Fox 11 News.
So that's what's going on in Huntington Park, where in the middle of the day, two guys with bolt cutters are just trying to steal a block's worth of copper wire. Got chased off by a Good Samaritan, but zero arrest, even when they pointed out to the police where these guys were. What's going on here? This isn't just happening in Southern California. It's happening in the Bay Area as well. Let's go to a report from NBC Bay Area about the rampant copper wire theft in what's supposed to be a much safer city than Los Angeles, the city of San Jose, the burbs to Silicon Valley.
Parts of the South Bay are much darker than they should be tonight. A copper wire theft is to blame. Thieves are stripping the wires from public lights, making them useless.
San Jose says it's taking a while to fix those lights because it's such a widespread problem.
In fact, true story, in Oakland, copper wire theft led to some traffic signals being put out of commission. And the city of Oakland is famously broke. So instead of replacing the wiring, instead of replacing the signal, they took a stop sign, a good old-fashioned stop optgon, and put it over the traffic signal. Hey, sometimes Oakland got to Oakland.
NBC Bay Area's Ian Cole explains what the city is now doing.
The streetlights in John Liepelt's South San Jose neighborhood haven't worked for a while now, and to understand why, all you need to do is look at the base of each one, a broken utility box with exposed wires making the base of each light its own mini crime scene, full of evidence of someone stealing the copper wiring.
Whole bunch of evidence, but nobody gets caught.
When this first started, it was just one or two around town. Now they're actually coming into the neighborhoods and hitting an entire city block.
We counted 8 of them out on one street alone. Thieves steal the copper and then sell it, and the damage they leave behind isn't cheap to fix.
I'm sure it's costing the city a lot of money. I don't know how much, but it's a continuing problem that is just building up. This money could be spent wisely somewhere else.
When the 6th Street Bridge got all its lights taken down, the estimated street value for all that copper was about $5,000, and it was about $500,000 to replace all of that copper wire. Don't quote me on those numbers, but it's close to that.
It's such a big problem that San Jose has launched an interactive map to show all the places where streetlights are dark due to stolen wire.
Oh, technology. San Francisco has a poop map, and San Jose has a stolen copper wire streetlight map.
Of the city's 65,000 streetlights, crews have had to fix 650 of them since last summer. Those are the green dots. But there's over 750 still in pink, meaning they need to be repaired.
Yes, because when this goes on and it grows exponentially, you only have so many crews. Cities like LA and San Jose and many others are facing huge budget deficits. They don't have the crews to replace this stuff, let alone the raw materials. So now we've got massive backlogs where your neighborhood's just going to live in darkness. This happened to me about a year and a half ago. My neighborhood, which is a very quiet neighborhood, a very peaceful neighborhood in the San Fernando Valley, the copper wire was stolen in front of the street light in front of my house. And it did not get fixed for about 6 weeks. And that was a year and a half ago. I can only imagine those wait times have gotten a lot longer. But I got to tell you, that one street light being out made my neighborhood feel a lot less safe.
We've had some lights in the past that were fixed, but now they're out again.
This issue is growing rapidly.
The city says it usually takes crews 2 weeks to get to a location to fix it, but because of the backlog, it's taking up to 4 months.
4 months to live in darkness.
And admits previous security measures aren't working, with thieves now smashing through the concrete covers.
Yeah, so that used to be the move. Okay, they steal the copper wire. Well, we're going to reinforce the box that we need to access it with concrete. It's going to be a pain in the ass for the electric company to get in there in case there's a problem, but the thieves won't get in there. Well, I guess the thieves stole jackhammers from Home Depot.
And we're looking at new ways to fortify those electrical boxes. I don't want to go into too many details and give the thieves an advantage, but
it's not going to work.
And we're moving beyond just those locking covers to make it even harder to get into those electrical boxes.
See, we have to think outside the box in California because, of course, we don't want to...
let's criminalize catalytic converters. Let's criminalize copper.
In fact, that very LA City Council meeting, it was Ulises Hernandez who was saying what we really need to do to solve this problem is invest in brand new streetlight technology that is solar powered, that doesn't use copper wire. And I almost never say this, but I think Ulises Hernandez might be onto something.
Quite frankly.
Because we're obviously not able to arrest our way out of any part of this problem. So we might have to, instead of reinventing the wheel when it comes to more tough ways for them to steal the copper wire, we have to figure out how to build streetlights that don't use copper wire. But of course, wouldn't there be precious metals inside those as well that could also be resold at a recycler? Well, probably. Maybe we got to go back to candles. They're not going to steal candles, are they?
San Jose isn't alone. Many cities around the Bay and state are facing the same problem. A bill was introduced in Sacramento this month that would require recyclers who buy copper wire to take down a lot more information of who they're buying it from.
We already have ordinances like that in several parts of the state, including Los Angeles, and they've done nothing.
If you have a street light out in San Jose, you can call 311 or use the 311 app to report it, shining a light on the problem in hopes of preventing more neighborhoods from being left in the dark. In San Jose, Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
All right, I want to talk to you right now at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you think there is a solution to this problem? Because it's only getting worse. Even every single time we try to toughen the laws, add more ordinances, there seems to be no consequences for this crime on the stealing aspect of it or the buying the stolen goods aspect of it. What do we do? Do we have to invent a brand new light bulb? Do we have to go back to candles? How do we stop the rampant copper wire theft in the state of California? 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Copper wire theft is rampant and brazen throughout the entire state of California. Do you have a solution for this? How do we stop this? Because it seems that everything our local elected leaders have done have only emboldened the criminals to do it more. And we're not just talking about the people stealing. We're talking about the recyclers that are smelting down all this stolen copper. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. What should we do about this problem that seems completely unsolvable in the state of California? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Also, if you've had copper wire stolen in your neighborhood, you're sitting in a land of darkness because your streetlights are out. How long has it been? How long did it take for the streetlights to get fixed? 800-222-KABC. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We're coming to you next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC. Copper wire theft is getting even more brazen, even in the wake of Proposition 36, which actually doesn't affect copper wire theft. More on that later. We have seen task forces make big arrests, including last year where 80 people got arrested, but this seems to be happening even more often. And it's getting more brazen, happening in the middle of the day. Is there a solution to this problem? Because it seems like we can't crack down on the recyclers. We can't seem to arrest the people doing this, stealing, in a timely manner. And what do we do? Do we do what Ulysses wants us to do, or we have to invent a new type of streetlight that doesn't use copper? I don't know. If you have a solution to the unbelievably pain-in-the-ass problem of copper wire theft, give me a call, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to John in Santa Monica. John, hello.
Randy, you are really a good talk show host. I mean, your subjects, your fire, it's just such a pleasure to listen to you. So I'll start out with a compliment.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and you deserve that. Okay, so I'm a welder, and I use big, heavy copper wires and coppers, and I'm into metals. Okay, I would do this. I would use decoys. I would set up decoys around, because I will bet you that the thefts are probably limited to a relatively small number of people. This is not like thousands of people stealing copper. A small group of people can create a lot of havoc. and I may be wrong there, but that would be an interesting question to, if you had an expert on. But set up some decoys, like you have an installation going and they've got wires hanging out or whatever, right? And then you have your guys nab them. That would be one way to do it. They do that with stolen cars. They'll put a decoy car out. Another thing would be to offer very generous rewards, and the reward might be $10,000 for a guy stealing. And so somebody's buddy will turn to, money does a lot of things. So guys will turn on each other or family members or, getting even, revenge. So I'd put out big wanted signs and really get serious and then make the penalty a felony. Or I don't know what maybe you could talk about what the penalties are for it. You could pass a new law saying copper wire theft is a felony, 2 years in jail. Or, make it hurt. I think the scrappers might be in it on it. So I think the scrappers, or they'd go out of state. They might travel a long way with this stuff. But the movie studio I work at, they had some big copper pipes, some heavy stuff they were tossing into our recycle bin. And that was gone in one day. Somebody grabbed that out of our own bin on the studio lot. It was just funny. But yeah, copper's pricey. I was looking up scrap prices, and I want to say $4 a pound or something. I was having a hard time getting an exact number, but you might use your great research team down there, your vast staff, to look at some of the prices. Because I think what they have is there's mechanisms where you can strip the insulation right off the wire, and now you've got the bare copper. It's real easy. They have some kind of machine that goes zip, and you run it through there. But then you have plumbing pipe. We were on a movie down at the Howard Hughes hangar, from back down in Playa Vista, and there were big copper pipes up in there where they used steam back in the day. This building was in the 40s, I guess, and so we have scissor lifts and all kinds of construction tools. The movie was called Eagle Eye with Shia LaBeouf. So we came in one morning, and somebody taken the scissor lifts and got up there with sawzalls and whacked out all the pipe. And it was historic pipe, it's not being used anymore, but some big copper stuff. And so this copper theft thing is wild. But decoys, large rewards, and maybe you can create a community like who are those guys that wear the red berets in New York? Angels?
Oh yeah, the Hells Angels.
No, not the Hells Angels.
The Guardian Angels.
The guy Guardian Angels, yeah. Maybe you need the Hells Angels. They're probably doing it. I don't know. Okay, give me some statistics, because maybe I missed that part of your show. Are there numbers they're putting on this as far as the and this is because there's construction. That I guess there's residential construction, but then there would be the city stuff. Switching to residential construction, that's going to be an insurance claim, maybe. I don't know. Insurance companies will have investigators, maybe. This might be an additional show. Bring on some construction guys. Maybe they need to post a guard,
It seems what most of what is happening is either utility lines or in municipalities like street lamps or the power system that powered an entire school, because they know that the governments have to pay to replace them. And so the copper wire will be ready to steal again within weeks. There was a DWP facility and I think it was in Carson. It was somewhere in LA where they had kept replacing their copper pipes every 6 weeks, and someone would steal them the day after they replaced them. It happened over and over and over again. But John, you've got some fantastic suggestions, buddy. Thank you so much for calling in. Yeah, the decoys, as much as we love our YouTube vigilantes where we've got Black Biden going after the Chomos and we've got Flash Shelton, the guy that goes after the squatters, we need a YouTube vigilante that sets up bait copper. I think this would be something you would want to watch. And we'll get to what the penalties are for copper wire theft, because I think that might be an issue that's in the middle of all of this. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to you next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's go back to the phones and go to Raymond on the 405. Raymond, hello.
Hello, how you doing, Randy?
Doing great.
So my idea was to set up cameras, maybe at the job site, or put the copper in a shipping container. You know, or hold the companies are reliable for the stolen copper.
I think that's definitely something we should do. In fact, if you want to be a licensed smelter, you want to be a licensed recycler, we got to have cameras, and you got to have verifiable permits and proof that the people that are selling you copper are legitimate scrappers, legitimate scavengers, whatever it is. But I got to tell you, I think there is a reason we're not doing that. And I think much like, and I don't have a lot of proof for this outside of what's going on in Oakland, but I think we have a lot of people who run these recycling companies are very politically connected, and they don't want anyone getting near them with their criminal activity, because that's what's going on. It's straight up criminal activity. Then we got recycling centers that are smelting down stolen material and selling it back to the cities. Raymond, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's set up the cameras. Let's get the bait copper going up. And let's find out every single politician that's been getting money from crooked recycling companies like California Waste Solutions in the Bay Area. Rob Bonta, I'm looking at you. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. So we've talked a lot about what are the penalties for copper wire theft. Well, I happened to look it up. That's right. I did a Google on the Google. And copper wire actually has its own part of the California Penal Code. Part 1 of Crimes and Punishments, Title 13 of Crimes Against Property, Chapter 5 Larceny, Section 487J, if you're following along at home. 487J says, every person who steals, takes, or carries away copper materials of another, but not including to copper wire, copper cable, copper tubing, copper piping, which are of a value exceeding $950, which again is tough because the scrap price for these things isn't a whole lot. What did our caller say? $4 a pound? They're guilty of grand theft. But this isn't like grand theft when you're stealing from a retail organization. Grand theft of copper shall be punishable by a fine not exceeding $2,500 by imprisonment in a county jail not exceeding 1 year, or both that fine and imprisonment. You know what that means? And apparently this is something that was updated with AB 316 in 2012. So now I have to look that up, do more Googling during the break. That means that even if you're convicted of stealing over $1,000 worth of copper wire, it's a misdemeanor. It doesn't matter how much copper wire you steal. It doesn't matter how much copper wire that you are in possession of. It's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. And this is something that was changed before Proposition 47. Now, we didn't see this rampant copper wire theft till just a couple of years ago. But what exactly was the idea that we want to make sure that copper wire theft is not a felony? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why is this something we voted? Well, I can tell you why, because that's what we thought we needed to do. Lessen the penalties, lessen the penalties. So I think we need an all of the above approach here from all the suggestions that were out there. Decoys, doing what they're doing in San Francisco with the car break-ins, you know, the bipping, having the bait cars, whether it's the ones that are actually done by the city or there's actually a guy that has his own YouTube channel that has bait cars to prank the criminals. Love that. We need some bait construction yards, some bait utility centers. Leave the copper out in the open and have it monitored, have it ready to go. That's one thing we can do. The increasing the rewards, AT&T offering $5,000 for that copper wire theft attempt in Huntington Park. Yeah, we might need to increase those, and I'm glad AT&T is doing something about that, because when you steal from a utility line, whether it's a cell phone tower or it's a power company, that goes to their bottom line, and if they don't fix that, it gets passed on to you, the customer. So we don't want that. So yes, increasing the rewards. I think we got to increase the penalties for sure. And I really love the other idea, which is setting up cameras outside these recyclers. In my opinion, The reason this problem keeps getting worse and worse and worse is the fact that we never, ever, I have yet to see in the 2.5 years, this has become a pretty prominent story in Los Angeles, Bay Area, and Northern California. I have yet to see anything about the arrests or the indictments of a recycling company, of a smelting company. These raw materials are very heavy, so I don't find it to be possible that they're taking them across state lines. They're definitely not flying them out of the country. Maybe they are, maybe. But it seems to me there are local shops that know what's going on here. And they might be the same local outfits that when they melt everything down to the raw materials, they're selling those same raw materials back to cities, back to counties, back to utility companies, AT&T, what have you. And until we do something about that, and I want to know why we're not doing something about that. Is it have to be? What are the political connections of these recycling companies? It's something I would have never even thought of a year ago if it didn't have to be for what happened in Oakland with the crooked recycling company. They got all the city contracts, that was ripping people off, that was bribing city officials, including Sheng Tao. If it wasn't for something like that, it would never have occurred to me that maybe the recycling companies are so politically connected that no one wants to go after them. I don't know, but something's going on here because this is so brazen and no one seems to be caring about getting caught. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of the News Blitz. We love bringing this to you every single day, talking about the local issues that matter to you most. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.